Hello, I'm Haley, and welcome to this MyNASA data tutorial brought to you by NASA Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. Today we're going to learn how to get started with the Earth System Data Explorer, a data visualization tool provided by MyNASA Data. This visualization tool is commonly referred to as a LAS, or a live access server. It's a web server that provides access to a variety of Earth systems data. This means, however, that the data provided is not live, rather it is a collection of data over time recorded from NASA platforms such as satellites, aircraft, and field stations. For this video tutorial, we're going to be focusing on locating data sets, adjusting geographic location of data, adjusting time settings of data, analyzing data with compare to and compare for features, and exporting information. So when you launch the Earth System Data Explorer, depending on your web browser, such as Google Chrome, you may be prompted to please choose a data set. Go ahead and click OK. And as you can see, we're ready for information. So if we go to the top left-hand corner of our screen, we'll find data set. Go ahead and select this, and you'll find a bunch of different topics that will eventually lead you to information you can select from. For this video, we're actually going to be focusing on hydrosphere, and more specifically, daily sea surface temperature. Because let's say we're doing a research project, and we're actually doing a research project on a storm from within the last few years, and maybe a storm that would work really well for us is Hurricane Sandy. So we've done our research, and we recall that Hurricane Sandy was this October of 2012 storm, which was unique in the way it moved. It started as a tropical wave from the west coast of Africa on October 11th, and then it passed the 74-mile-per-hour wind, sustained wind benchmark that hurricanes must pass to be considered hurricanes, right about here, just off of Central America. And then it headed northward, and instead of going out into the North Atlantic at this point, it actually came back and then dissipated over the land. So as a quick recollection, we may remember that hurricanes or tropical cyclones are these severe storms found within the Atlantic Ocean, and they generally form over the warm waters located within the Atlantic Basin. So this area including the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico. And these hurricanes actually draw most of their power from warm water to form a sort of heat engine. And we could use the information on the Earth System Data Explorer to explore this variable more closely. Perhaps we want to see what happens to the warm sea surface temperatures after a storm like Hurricane Sandy passes over them. So going back to the Earth System Data Explorer, we'll go ahead and select daily sea surface temperature. And we have information. And something else to note before we move on from the dataset feature, if we look up in the annotation window, we can find some of this information, but we can also go to dataset, and you'll notice these question marks. If we find the one closest related to the variable we're looking at and select it, you'll be prompted to go to a different web page, which will give you a little more basic information. So in this case, we have our variable, daily sea surface temperature. We have the mission name, which all of these have their mission name acronyms, or just the mission name if it fits. So in this case, if we want to do more research on the science behind the information recorded, we could go to the Group for High Resolution Sea Surface Temperatures website and learn more about that mission. We also have time range that we can pull information from. So we could go back as far as January of 1997 or as far forward as June of 2018. And we also have a unit of measurement. So we know it's temperature, but that doesn't tell us if it's Kelvin or Fahrenheit or Celsius, but here we know it's Celsius. So going back to the Earth System Data Explorer, we can also find some of that information up here in the annotation window. But because we don't really need this anymore, we can go ahead and back out of this and we'll have more room to work with on the web page. So next thing we could do is, well, recalling this image provided to us by the National Hurricane Center Tropical Cyclone Report for Hurricane Sandy, we can recall where Hurricane Sandy was. So maybe looking at this map, we could go ahead and select this region. Now, this will allow us to look a little closer at the information so we're not seeing all the clutter of everything else going on. And let's say maybe we could do a couple different things to do that. We could go and enter coordinates here, or we could go to this little drop down above the mini map and we could select North America since we know that the majority of the storm occurred there. And as you can see, we've selected something over here. Nothing's changed to our chart of information, but if we look up here, update plot is now highlighted red. That's because we need to select it so it can refresh the information being shown. And well, this is nice because it shows us the East Coast and Mexico and Central America and the Caribbean, but it's showing us a lot of the Pacific Ocean as well, and Alaska and Canada, and we really don't need that much. So perhaps we could reset this mini map and we could go to select region and use this tool just to go ahead and select this region ourselves. And for the rest of this video, I'm going to leave this box checked so it'll automatically update from now on. So we now have this information up, and this is incredibly helpful. And again, if we had forgotten what happened with the data set or what variable we're looking at, we can actually bring annotations back by clicking annotations. But we're not very interested in that right now. And now we can go ahead and select the date we would like to look at. So maybe we go a couple days before the storm. We could go to October 20th, perhaps, 2012. And already we can see these warm waters here. Now, this is nice, but what if we could look at more information? Like maybe we could use this one plot compare to compare for feature, focusing on compare for the moment. And we can actually look at these sort of slides of information next to each other. Maybe they can increase by increments of 3 days apiece. That's the 23rd, this could be the 26th, and this could be the 29th, which would be the last day of the storm. So already you can see a huge difference in the colors of the temperature, marking the temperatures of the water. So, for example, just before Hurricane Sandy became Hurricane Sandy, we can notice this really, really bright yellow region here just off Central America. And we know that Hurricane Sandy is entering as a tropical storm at this point. Now, October 23rd, if we recall, it's going to still be in that area. We can actually see more disturbance in the sea surface temperature. So now we're actually noticing this sort of cooling trend. And if we look 3 days later, we know that the 26th, Hurricane Sandy is now off the coast of Florida. So we know it's here in this red region, and we can actually see this kind of path that formed where the water cooled a little bit as the storm charged northward. And on the last day of the storm, we know that the storm, still marked as a hurricane, was off the coast of Virginia, Maryland. So it's going to be in this region here. And already you can see much more blue and white in this image than 9 days prior. So that's a pretty unique look at the storm. And another thing we can do too is if we go back to using the compare to feature, say we wanted to look at other variables. So perhaps we wanted to see something like the sea surface salinity. Now, this data set, like many others, is actually going to be averaged over months because sea surface temperature is very unique because it is daily. Most of the data sets on the site are going to be monthly averages. So when I go ahead and select this, it's actually going to probably tell me to reselect the region, which is completely fine. We can do that very easily. Go ahead and reselect it and update. And make sure that our time is still where we would like it to be. And actually, so this would be maybe another use of the compare for feature if we wanted to look at sea surface salinity in the months leading up to Hurricane Sandy and then beyond the months of beyond months after Hurricane Sandy. Or maybe we wanted to look at a different variable. We could look at monthly precipitation for October of 2012. So these are just some other uses of the compare to feature on the Earth System Data Explorer. So maybe we could look here and we can actually see this really nice path of rain for Hurricane Sandy and then where it dissipated over land. So again, another interesting perspective to look at of the same storm. And now one other thing we could do is if we really like this information, perhaps we can go ahead and we'd like to export it, we'd like to present it. If we go to print above it, or if we're on just the one plot thing, we can either use this print or this print, either one works. And now we have this nice image. We can go ahead and either print this like we would normally print any other web page, or we can right click with our mouse and save image as, and we can save it as a PNG image, which will be another way of us to use this for a project. If we're doing a presentation, we now have a nice clear image. Thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to learn more about the MyNASA Data Earth Systems Data Explorer, please check out our other tutorials at our YouTube channel.